Mark, Simon, do you want to get us underway whenever you're ready?
Could I bow to Simon on my very last shift at the BBC, and I will listen to Tyne Tease's excellent questions before I try my own.
Is it your last shift?
Yeah,
Well,
my last shift.
of course, but isn't that reason for you to go first, Mark?
Absolutely not. Please, Simon, do.
Okay, Lee, after last Saturday, it's been a pretty great week for you, and I suppose from the club's point of view, it got even better yesterday when you got Dan Neil's name on a contract as well. How pleased was everyone about that?
Yeah, we were really pleased. I think Dan was pleased, which is good. You know, we want players to be enthused and to really love what they're doing and we're doing at the club. I think that picture sums it up with Dan Neil, doesn't it? The one where he's sort of sat in the crowd as a 10, 11-year-old kid and he's starry-eyed, and now he's actually living that dream, and that's what we want. You know, you can see and feel the passion that he's got for Sunderland when you're coaching him. And as I've said before a number of times, he's just a great kid and also a really, really good football player with bags of potential, and we'll try and hone in on that as quickly as possible.
Yeah, with someone like Dan, and he's by no means the only person this applies to in the squad, I find myself wanting to rein it back almost at times, because you can see that there is so much potential there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. He's technically a very good player. You see the way he manipulates the ball. I think he's added another dimension to his game, to be able to sort of drop and drive, as we call it, and receive the ball and commit players. And he's got that lovely dribbling technique, a little bit like a sort of young Paul Gascoigne almost, in the way he sort of hops and drags it at the same time, which as a defender it means it's very difficult to commit. The minute you do commit, he's got the ability to skip by you, and I do expect to see a couple of sort of slalom type goals from him this season, because he's been in that situation. QPR Wednesday, it was a lovely little gliding run, and then just didn't quite get the finish off. So look, we're very pleased, he's very pleased, the hard work starts now, and we look forward to moving on with him in our future.
Look, just last one on him. Do you see leadership in him as well? Because I'm just thinking back to certainly the trophy game. There was a trophy game where he was almost the senior pro almost out there.
Yeah, I think we have to develop leaders everywhere, all around the club. You know, I think leadership can be improved and worked on and sort of nurtured. And I think Dan Neil absolutely fits the bill of a future captain of this club. Like I say, he's committed to a long-term contract. He's never wavered despite interest, and there's still interest in him, as we know. And like I say, I think the world's his oyster in terms of the next steps. Like, you know, the recognition he's getting at the moment from the media and the fans is almost the bit I want to discard for him, because when he gets that recognition from his teammates, from his coaches, from his family, that's the bit, of course, that's the most important, and try and find that internal sort of gratification rather than external. But it's all part of the learning process, and there will be peaks and troughs in his performances, but form is fickle and class is permanent. I think he's certainly got that class we're after.
How do you sum up a week, and how do you balance a week where you've had a setback in the league, a massive step forward in the League Cup, you'll have one eye on the cup draw, and then a huge game?
Yeah, big game, really good game. I think that we've had this sort of run of championship style fixtures. I think, you know, the Charlton game was a tough one for us, obviously QPR, and we've managed to lift the mood after being disappointed from our weekend's result. And we go into the Rotherham game, which is a really tough game, like buoyant in terms of confidence and players feeling that positivity with their individual form. Nice to get Elliot Embleton back as well, obviously after suspension. And it just gives us another dynamic, I think, going into the game.
And over the past few years, Rotherham have proved that they're very good at League One.
Yeah, well listen, Warney's a really good guy first and foremost, but he's also a very good manager, and almost didn't want to be a manager, which is really interesting because it means that he's able to commit like 100% to the philosophy and to his values, and he certainly does that, and his teams epitomise his personality. They're on the front foot, very hard working, extremely fit, very good at bossing the quartiles of the pitch, and it'd be a really tough game for us. But it's a really good game because with their experience having been into the Championship, again we've got a lot of young players. It's away, and a journey where I presume a lot of our fans will be going, considering how many we took to QPR and we have done on away days, and another important one to build momentum and attempt to get 3 points, push hard and push up the league.
Thank you, good luck. I'll pass you on to Mark now.
Thank you.
Lee, just obviously going back to the midweek success, I mean, I think a lot of Sunderland fans thinking about 2014 will have just seen the teams into the next round, Arsenal, Chelsea and Sunderland. I mean, you've got a long way to go before you can be playing those sort of teams on a regular basis, but is that part of the reason there's such a buzz going through the club at the moment?
I think winning football games create that buzz. I remember speaking to John Beck once and talking about philosophy and playing style, and I asked the question, how do you get a club and a team to buzz? And it's very simple: win football matches. It doesn't matter what style. Win football matches and players will buzz, and so will fans. So winning as many football matches as we have so far this season, obviously the Cup has been a large proportion of that, has been good and it's been positive. We know we can't rest, we must continue to drive forward, and the league, as we've always said, is the priority, and it's great to be in the mix with 7 Premier League clubs in the next round, and it's going to be exciting, the draw, but we have to maintain that our bread and butter is absolutely the league, and that is Saturday in a really tough game that we must produce our best form to go and get a result.
And although it looks really tough on paper, by calling them something of the Championship style games, is it the perfect game after you've just managed to get through against QPR, who are a Championship club?
We just love testing ourselves, that's the beauty of this side. We don't go into games with fear. We go into games trying to prove a point that we belong here and higher. And I think when you get an opportunity to test yourself against a Championship club like we did against Blackpool, like against QPR, Rotherham having just come down with a lot of experience in their squad, even Charlton last week, you've got to prove that you're worthy. And I think that likes of Dan Neil, Dennis Serkin, Callum Doyle, this is a really young side in various positions that we've got. And they have to prove themselves week in, week out. And if they don't, a senior player comes in and takes their place. So it's quite an interesting dynamic at the moment.
Was just one downside, I suppose, the knocks that players picked up. Just firstly, Denver Hume, who's obviously had such a miserable time on the sidelines, come back. What's the situation with the ankle, do you know?
Yeah, just awaiting scan results on that one. Doesn't look good for the weekend, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, we'll have to see. But hopefully he won't be out too long. It'd be disappointing for him, but it's part of being a footballer, and you just got to bounce back.
And the other lads, what's the situation?
Who are you asking me about in particular?
Well, there were just I think one or two sort of picked up knocks during the game.
Yeah, listen, there was bumps and bruises. It was a very physical game, but the majority of those are bumps and bruises. Obviously, you want to keep your cards close to your chest, really, in a game like this, because there will be a couple of changes and key changes to the team, and like I've always said, we've got to show that tactical agility with this squad. We really have. We've got to be able to play a 5, we've got to be able to play a 4, we've got to be able to play 1 up front, 2 up front, expansive 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 compact. We've got to be able to do all this and have a real clear idea and an identity as we do that.
And just one final thing from me, Lee. Any preferences in the draw on Saturday?
You're not sucking me in again, my friend.
No comment.
Vanilla. I am very respectful for all Premier League clubs, and anybody that we wish to play or wish to play us, we will be highly delighted in playing them. Is that all right?
Hopefully it'll be nice and lucrative for you. And listen, all the very best for the rest of the season and beyond, Lee. And great to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Cheers and good luck.
Thank you.
Cheers, Mark. Scott?
I think it was my question that led you down that alley, Lee, so I apologise for that. Just one more on injury front. Nathan Broadhead, how is he? Because obviously we haven't seen him. You know, he's been out. So where's he at?
I think it's very difficult. It's definitely been pushed back in terms of the original prognosis, and the time scale was relatively short, and we thought it was a best case scenario. But the reality is, you still got to take the player's symptoms and the player's feelings on board, you know, and he's obviously been feeling something. I do feel like we've turned the corner now, and that's probably just time. Will he be fit for this weekend? No. Will he be fit for next weekend? I truly hope so.
Yeah. And just one more on kind of Dan, obviously coming on the back of Elliott's contract as well. I mean, I think there's a feeling that in the past, the club hasn't necessarily always got it right in terms of tying down their young players and sorting out contracts before they get into a situation where it's hard to sort them out. So, you know, what does it say about the way that the club is, I don't know, organised or looking at the future now, that, you know, both of these, from the outside at least, seem to have been done, A, in a very timely fashion, and B, you know, at a time that suits the club as well as the player?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's a succession plan, you know. We have clarity starting from the top, and obviously working its way down the chain in constant communication, obviously with Christian Speakman and Kirill on a regular basis in terms of all the players. And I think that you know you've nailed it. We haven't quite nailed it yet. I've said this is a 3 to 5 year project, you know, from the experience I've had, and you'll really know you've cracked it when you're doing your summer business in January and your January business sort of 3 or 4 weeks or a month or so before the start of the window. So, like, there is a plan, very clear, defined plan. There is a succession plan based on the back of that. And we make sure that the squad has got a nice balance, you know, a nice balance of youth, experience, assets, players that can produce, that are in their prime now, and those emerging talents that are moving into their prime, and can really provide a competitive future for every Sunderland team that we put out. And it's really difficult for players, because when the recruitment's good, it means you're having actually to go toe to toe not only against internal competition but also external competition, because this club makes no apology for striving for more, and whether that's in our recruitment or our nurturing of the talent, as long as they know that we've got their best interests at heart and you've won the hearts and minds. And this is where the fans have a massive part to play as well. Do you know what I mean? If I was a player, I'd have loved to have signed a new sort of 3-4 year contract, because I've been appreciated by the fans. You know what I mean? And that is just so powerful, and that keeps us in games at times. It'll win us games moving forward, and that's what we must do, everything we can to protect that vibe between players and fans at the moment.
And so just on the back of that, I know we're just at the end of October, aren't we? But thinking of January, I mean, do you see that as a plug a couple of gaps that maybe you've identified over this first half of the season month? Do you see it as a chance to do a bit of long-term planning month, or will it inevitably be a bit of both?
We have to come out of the window better. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Every window is an opportunity. You know, it's not just an opportunity to improve the tip of the iceberg, which is the first team and the starting 11. It's also an opportunity to design a pathway to bring a player through. You saw in the last window the likes of Jack Diamond and Josh Hawkes go out on loan. Obviously we've got the option then to recall them in January. Could be like 2 new signings if that's the case, or we might say to a young player like Ellis Taylor, for example, we're going to design your future here and you're going to step out and get some men's football, as well as going to spend X amount on a new player because we believe that it's the right profile and age to move us forward again. And there's a constant flow and a constant evolution of any squad, and that's the way it should be. And the difficult thing, the hardest thing for a coach and a club is to almost not be sort of nostalgic or to get emotionally attached when you are so clearly emotionally attached in the and invested in those individuals as human beings.
And it must. I mean, just the last one. When you're out trying to recruit players and everything, it must help that that you can point to the likes
Recording
of
stopped.
Player or the likes of Dennis or whatever, that these players have come in, they've been given young players, they've been given a chance, they've seized them, and their career now hopefully is heading in a real upward direction. That can only also be another big selling point. Yeah,
and look, the players will find their level. Like what we've got to do is we cannot discard anybody at this club. We have to do everything we can, put in the extra hours to try and help them, because it's not just for them, which is of course the first point, but it's also creating an asset value. We'll be working extremely well when we've got 20 players out there that are not good enough for Sunderland but still hold an asset value for the club, whether it percentage sell on of sale or like out on loan ready to come back and push for a first team place. And this is what it is, it's got to constantly churn out. This has got to be a conveyor belt of talent, and we will give the pathway, there's no doubt in that. Like, we have demonstrated that, and if I was a young player coming through at Sunderland, I'd be really engaged, I'd be buzzing, because I know I'm going to get an opportunity as long as my form is good. I went to the game the other day against South Shields, and there were some really good performances from the under 23s, and it posed questions to me driving home on the way back about that development path and how we're going to get a couple of them through.